I love you, Lord, for your mercy never fails me. All my days I've been held in your hand. From the moment that I wake up until I lay my head, oh, I will sing of the goodness of God. 'Cause all my life you have been faithful, and all my life you have been so good. With every breath that I am able, oh, I will sing of the goodness of God. I love your voice. You have led me through the fire, and in darkest night, you are close like no other. I've known you as a father, I've known you as a friend, and I have lived in the goodness of God. Hey! 'Cause all my life you have been faithful. Oh, yes, you have. And all my life you have been so good. With every breath that I am able, oh, I will sing of the goodness of God. Your goodness is running after me. Your goodness is running after me. With my life laid down, I surrender now. I give you everything, oh Lord. Your goodness is running after me. Your goodness is running after, oh yeah, it's running after me. Oh yeah, your goodness is running after, it's running after me. With my life laid down, I surrender now. I give you everything. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. And all my life you have been faithful. And all my life you have been so good. With every breath that I am able, oh, I'm gonna sing of the goodness of God. I'm gonna sing. All my life you have been faithful. All of my life you've been faithful. All my life you have been so good. With every breath that I am able, every breath I'm able, I'm gonna sing of the goodness of God. Yes, I am. Of the goodness of God. Oh, I'm gonna sing of the goodness of I love you, Lord, For your mercy never fails me all my days.
And good afternoon, and welcome to Faith, Health, and Finance with me, Rowan Fenelon. We are so happy to have you on with us today. We encourage you to share the live, call your friends, share the live with your family. It's a blessing to be on here with you. We shall be sharing some knowledge, and we do it all from a biblical perspective. We shall be discussing some finances that will help us in our daily living. And we have our guest on today, Dr. Merle Clark, who's a consultant nephrologist who will be helping us and educating us more or less. We'll be having a conversation with her regarding our kidney health. So please share the live and call your friends, get your families on. Today, as always, we want to thank the Lord for being here in the land of the living. He has been good to us, administering mercies unto us, our families, children. We know that there are so many problems in the world with mental health, with the physical health, problems in relationships, etc. So we give it all to the Lord. Today, we shall say a prayer. And as always, if you have a need for prayer or you have a concern, please put your questions or your concern in the chat, in the Facebook chat. You could also send us a WhatsApp, or you could call us at the numbers on the screen. Below, you will see a banner scrolling. That's contact information for myself and also Dr. Merle Clark. But please put your concerns and questions or your need for prayer in the Facebook chat. Again, my name is Rowan Fenelon. I'm a host. I'm based in New York. I'm an accounting professional as well as a financial literacy professional. I'm very happy to be here with you, and it's all about education, financial literacy education, and giving praise to the Lord and checking into our health. That's so very important. So we shall say a little prayer today. 3 John chapter 1, verse 2. It says, Beloved, I wish above all things that thou mayest prosper and be in health, even as thy soul prospereth. With this scripture in mind, we reach out to the Father. Heavenly Father, we thank you today that we are in the land of the living. Thank you for life, breath, strength, and the blessing of being gathered together in this moment. Lord, we ask for your healing power over our bodies, our minds, and our spirits. Grant us health, strong mental health, and peace that settles every anxiety. We ask you to cover our families with your protection. Surround our homes, our circles of friends and families with your presence. And let unity, love, and wisdom guide our decisions. Heavenly Father, we lift up our young men, especially give us courage, clarity, and strength as all of us, we navigate relationships, situationships, family pressures, and the daily affairs of life. Order their steps and remind them of their purpose. Lord, go before us today. Bless every task, every conversation, and every responsibility, and for all you have done and all you will do. We give you thanks and praise. In your name we pray. Amen. We want to thank you for being with us here today, as well as those who will be watching the live, who are watching now, and those who will be watching the live later on. We give the Lord thanks and praise. So there is a lot of one aspect I want to address today is something called insurance. We know insurance helps to cover us. There are various types of insurance. We take insurance for our houses, for our cars, for our telephones. Even when you buy a product from the store, you take insurance. So what does that do? That helps to protect us in the event that there is an unforeseen loss so that the insurance can make you whole. So there's something called life insurance. Many people come up to me and they say, but Ron, what's the difference? Some people have a product and they don't know what it is. So today, to enlighten us, I would like to tell you or educate you on the basic difference between two types of life insurance. I shall put up, and again, if you have any questions, please put it in the chat. Please put it. You could reach out, you could call, or put it in the chat. Yeah, and I shall attempt to get your questions to answer. One second. So the term life insurance could be a very, very, very scary thing to us, but I'm here to break it down for you, really and truly. So as we covered, we need insurance for our daily livings. We need it to cover our houses. If you buy a car, you need to get insurance on it, because if the car is written off, what will happen? You're going to be at a loss, financial loss and problems. So we need insurance for our daily living. For our life, we need insurance. We call it life insurance to protect ourselves. And if something should happen, that we are gone, who's going to replace that income in your family? As you would agree, you're the most important person in your family. Are you? Yes, you are the most important person in your family. So what happens if you've left this earth, God forbid? What happens to, you still have commitments, your family still has commitments, mortgage, rent, it might be school fees for the kids, and a house, a mortgage. So what happens when you've gone? Those expenses don't go away. You may pass, but the expenses continue. So for this purpose, the same way we take out insurances on our products, our commodities we buy, electronics, our cars, and the phone, it's important to take off a life insurance on your life. Okay, so there are two types of life insurance. You may hear different terms. Don't get confused. There are only two types of insurances, life insurances, and we call these, they fall into two categories: term or permanent. So what is a term? A term is a life insurance policy that has a specific period. It may last for anywhere from 10 to 30 years. So here on the left side, we say term. You see there's a clock, which means there's a clock on what you have. Okay? It lasts only a set of period, 10 to 30 years. After that, what happens? You're left on your own. Okay? And you're left on your own. And as compared to a permanent, on the right side, a permanent insurance lasts for a lifetime. It covers you for your life. Again, a life insurance policy does many things, but one of the most important things is for, if you pass, then a benefit is conferred upon your family, your beneficiary. It might be a husband, wife, children, whoever that beneficiary is. Okay, it's a contract. So we say term, there's a specific period. You see the clock, you remember, it's a term. There's a time period on it. Then there's permanent life insurance. It lasts for your life. It doesn't go away. Another distinction is that term insurance, it is cheaper. Why? Because the only thing in the term is covering pure insurance. It does nothing else. Pure insurance, if you pass away, you're paid out the benefit. Okay? So it is cheaper. That's the cheapest form of insurance you get, which is term. With permanent does more. Permanent does more, so it's a little more expensive. Again, term on the left, there's one of the big distinctions is that there's no benefit if you live past term. So if you have a term insurance, it is only for if you pass, God, because nobody knows when the Lord will come calling on your life. So if you pass away, the benefit is paid to your beneficiary. However, if you live past the term period of the insurance for that term policy, then you get nothing. Okay, and it would be more expensive for you to get yourself insured at that time. With the permanent insurance, we say it pays a benefit no matter how long you live. So if you have a term, if you have a policy for 10 years, 20, 30 years, if you have a permanent policy, there's no clock, there's no time period on it. So it covers you for a lifetime. One of the key distinctions between a term and a permanent is something called cash value. Because every month you're paying into the policy, yes? Now with the term, we said it's pure life insurance. There's a cost of insurance, there's nothing more. So it's the cheapest form of insurance, life insurance that you will come across. And so the monies that you pay go straight towards the cost. So that's why it's cheap. So there is no benefit of a cash value. The monies you pay in doesn't grow. However, with a permanent policy, it does other things. Apart from going straight into the cost of the insurance, it has a savings factor. What does that mean? That means as you are paying monthly, you are insured in case you pass away, and then the benefit is paid to your beneficiary. But also there's a savings factor, okay? A savings factor, which means the monies you got in there will grow. Who is the term best for? People take terms. First of all, someone can have both a term and a permanent. They serve different purposes. It depends on what you need it for. It depends on that time of your life or what status you are with your family, etc. What's going on. So we say term is only needed, is insurance needed whilst your kids are very young, because you could take a term on your kids. It's cheaper then. Term is also needed if you have a mortgage or some important asset that you have a loan on. You want to ensure you cover that asset. For example, your house, your mortgage, or if you buy, I don't know, some asset. Because if you pass away, that debt doesn't go away. It stays, so somebody has to pay. So you want to make sure the easiest way to, in terms of planning, you could take a term policy. So if you pass away, you know that money can go away to pay the mortgage so that your beneficiaries will not have that headache of taking care of a loan and the asset. With the permanent, it's part of your estate planning. Estate planning includes planning for your family, what you want to pass to them, etc. So again, the permanent policy has a cash value. That cash value, say if you pass, the benefit is paid to the benefit of the policy. Say if you have $500,000, that will be paid to your beneficiary. In addition to the cash value, the savings element, that also passes on to the beneficiary. It could be used to pay taxes, etc., on the asset that you're gifting to, some asset you may be gifting to your family members, etc. Yeah. So the fun fact is, for the term, it may not pay out if you die skydiving. When you take out these policies, you specifically ask the underwriter, the insurance company will not insure you if you have a very risky living. For example, bungee jumping, jumping out of a plane, etc. These are very risky hobbies. There's no insurance company that will cover you for that. So whether you look for term or permanent, insurance company will not cover you if you have very risky life habits. Under the permanent, remember they said don't get confused, there are only two types. So under the permanent, there's two brackets. You could have a whole life, which is what we know as a traditional policy. Cash value accumulates and your whole life is covered. And there's variable, which is similar to an investment in an account. So I would leave it as that for now. And hopefully you would have understood the difference between in life insurance. There's only two types of policies. Very simple. Term, the main point to highlight term, there's a clock on it. Usually 10 to 30 years. After that, you're on your own. If you want to reinsure, it's going to be quite more expensive. So term could work for people, again, if you have a mortgage, etc., etc. Permanent covers your whole life, and then it does other things. Another thing I want to share with you, and again, it's all about financial literacy. You guys can contact me via the numbers, the contact details. You'd see a banner scrolling, and there's a whole team. I'm in a part of a group that we are all licensed and we're ready to help you. We can do a financial one-on-one if you need help, if you need some review of what your financial status is, if you need protection for your families, you have concerns, we can help you with that. One other thing I would like to share, there's something called term with living benefits. A lot of people say, oh, life insurance is for someone who's dead or is dying. No, life insurance is actually for the living, because it depends on your situation that you could make life insurance work for you. There's something called term. Again, I just explored the difference between term and permanent. There's something called term with living benefits. As it implies, living benefits is you are living, you are not dead. So there are 3 areas. If you have a critical illness, which has been something that affects your daily living, like an organ of yours, or if you have chronic illness that affects your mobility, and there's terminal illness, again, it's a term policy if you pass. Term, remember, there's no cash value with term. So it's a cheaper life insurance. Now, this product really and truly relates to the United States. So those of you on, please understand, I'm referring for this kind of policy, this one, term with living benefits, particularly to what we have in the United States. So term with living benefits, again, what happens if you have one of those illnesses, a critical illness? You may not be able to work again, but you still have expenses. You have a mortgage, you have kids to take care of, you have a wife, husband, commitments. What happens? So you will need monies, yes. So why not let the insurance company take care of that for you? So term with living benefits, I like this one, this product, and this is what you get from one of not an investment company, but a life insurance company, because it's a life insurance product. But it does more than if you're dead. It helps you if you're alive, okay? Because you will agree, if you cannot go to work, if you're sick, cancer, heart attack, stroke, the job will not keep you. So where is the money going to come from to keep you covered, to keep you whole? We look to life insurances. So term of living benefits, it takes care of critical illnesses. Critical illness is illnesses which really affect your organs, like heart attack. If you look on the left side, heart attack, stroke, cancer, renal or kidney failure. Renal or kidney failure can really put you out of business. It's really serious, and we're going to deal with this as the consultant, Dr. Merle Clark, will address concerns and talk a little bit about this to educate us. Blindness from diabetes. Yes, we know this is very, very common, particularly in the Black and brown community. Paralysis, and so on. These are critical illnesses. So we said, if you have any one of these, then you're automatically, if you have a term with living benefits, and that policy kicks in, and the insurance company can cover you and advance you part of your policy benefits as if you were dead. Again, it's living benefits because you're alive, you're not dead, but you have something, a health illness that prevents you from working, from gaining income, okay? If you cannot work, where's the money going to come from? So we want a term, the term of living benefits satisfies this. If you have a chronic illness is something that affects your mobility. And mobility, we're saying there are about 6 of them. So if you need help with 2 of your daily living activities, we say you have a chronic illness. And it's not myself who says, oh, he or she has a chronic illness. It is the medical provider who will determine that. So what's a chronic illness? We're saying if you have issues with bathing, you need help to bathe. You need help with dressing. You need help with eating. You need help with toileting or continence, which has to do with control of your urinal capacity or your bowel movement. We say you have an issue of continence. Also, transferring to and from a wheelchair or bed, meaning just your ability to move from the bed or within your house or outside of your house. You have a transferring issue, okay? So if you need help with 2 of the 6, then the doctor says, your medical provider says, you have a chronic illness. And hence, that term with living benefits kick in. And what does that mean? It means the insurance company, once you satisfy certain criteria, will advance you part of your benefits. Again, you're alive, you're not dead, but your ability to earn a living is restricted. And then there's terminal illness. God forbid, that's if you pass. So what protection do you have now that gives you access to hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars while you're alive in case you get a critical, chronic, or terminal illness? You tell me. So this is part of our financial literacy, and this is what this Good Samaritan, your host, moi, Rowan, is here to help you with. We have a very big team of persons who sit with you, and you could contact us. You could contact me through the information scrolling on the screen. You could reach me through a call or WhatsApp, and I'm able to assist you and connect you with persons, including myself, and we will review your issues and we can assist you by helping you to make the best decisions. That being said, we are thankful that everyone who's here with us. We encourage you to share the live, call someone, and tell someone that Faith, Health, and Finance is on. So we shall take a break, and we shall be back, and we shall be introducing Dr. Merle Clark, and we'll take a break to pay some bills. Thank you.
Get pain relief fast with Frances Rub.
When the days get tough, rub it. Having back pains, rub it. The dog not well, rub it. COVID on you, rub it. If you have 4AD, rub it. For proper circulation, rub it. Stroke have you on a side, rub it. For all problems in life, rub it with Frances Rub. Or call 713-4162 or 489-3421. Nothing beats a good old Frances Rub. Located in the Vendors Arcade, booth 27B.
And now in VA4 on Girodi Street next to the post office.
Put your empty hands in mine. And scars, show me all the scars you hide. And hey, if your wings are broken, please take mine so yours can open too. 'Cause I'm gonna stand by you. Oh, tears make a lot of scopes in your eyes. It hurt, I know you're hurting, but so am I. And love, if your wings are broken, borrow mine so yours can open too. C'est incroyable.
Proud of it, proud of it, proud of it, proud of it. Proud of it, proud of it, proud of it, proud of it. With all the wonders in the world, St. Lucia's only meant for me. So much history to be told and so much more for eyes to see. The colors feel the love, I can tell you all the way. Proud of it, proud of it, proud of it, proud of it. It don't matter where I voyage, it don't matter where I roam. Majestic becomes stand.
And hello, and we're back. And thank you again. This is Faith, Health, and Finance with Rowan Funlaw on Watch Radio. Again, share the live, tell your friends that we are on. It's all about financial literacy. We take it from a very biblical perspective, and we shall also be discussing health matters here. And I'm responding to one of the questions here in the chat. Someone asked, Is one covered if death? Is one covered if there's death by suicide? So when we take policies, we take it with good intention. If during the first 2 years of coverage you commit suicide, then you shall not, or your beneficiary shall not reap the benefits of the policy, will not get the benefit, the proceeds payout. So the insurance company will simply return the premiums you've paid. So suicide during the first 2 years of coverage, no. At this point, yeah. So please feel free to put something in the chat, your concerns. So at this point, I would like to introduce Dr. Merle Clark, who is a consultant nephrologist. She's based in the beautiful island of St. Lucia, where I know there are no problems. I'm from St. Lucia. We have the only walking volcano here. So it's all happening, faith, health, and finance, all happening in Watch Radio, the place to be for your education needs. Dr. Merle Clark is a highly accomplished consultant nephrologist based in the beautiful island of St. Lucia. She's the first native specialist in kidney care. After earning a medical degree in Cuba in 2007 and completing a postgraduate training in 2013, she returned to the island of St. Lucia to practice clinical nephrology and advocate passionately for public health, lifestyle modifications, and chronic kidney disease prevention. Beyond her clinical work, Dr. Clark serves as the president of the St. Lucia Medical and Dental Association, having been elected to an unprecedented third consecutive term, and has actively educated the public through the SLMDA produced medical program, HealthWise. Her groundbreaking contributions to regional healthcare were recognized globally when the International Society of Nephrology honored her with the 2023 Nephrology Pioneer Award for North America and the Caribbean. Dr. Clark is also a distinguished fellow of the American Society of Nephrology and a dedicated patron of several regional health organizations. So with that being said, Dr. Clark, welcome. It's a really great honor and pleasure to have you on here with us as we are having a discussion, not a presentation, but a discussion on kidney health, its impact, what it means, how can we do better, what can we do to have better kidney health.
Thank you for having me, Ron. It's wonderful to be here. I mean, I was listening intently to your presentation because, again, that sort of literacy is so important and so many of us are unaware. I'm sort of more aware now because I do have financial friends who do financial literacy as well, but so important that we know that sort of information. And again, I do kidney disease, so we see the debilitating effect of kidney disease, of strokes, of heart attacks every single day. Yeah. And the importance, of course, of having that sort of protection that you were talking about earlier. So thank you for having me. I am happy to be here.
Yes, welcome again. So I put up a little, because people may not know what the kidney is or where it's located in the body. So I've put up a little photo that gives you an idea where the kidneys are located. So first of all, what is the function of the kidneys really?
Okay, so the picture you put up there, and we'll talk about it also a bit later when we talk about a few specific things, but the kidneys are taken for granted a lot. They have quite a few very important functions, but I think what most people know about is that they clear the body of toxins. So there are thousands of toxins that they clear the body of, but there are a few that we measure every day in hospitals, or if you're doing your regular kidney function test, which forms part of your basic physical exam. Things like creatinine, which people may have heard of, not to be mistaken with what bodybuilders use, or sometimes will use gymming called creatine. So there's blood, urea, nitrogen, so many things, even your potassium, which normally is very important. But if you have kidney disease, then high levels of potassium can become toxic to the heart. So the kidneys have that function of clearing the body of toxins. The kidneys regulate salt and water So that's very important when it comes to high blood pressure, because
Yeah.
any problem that causes retention of salt and retention of water leads to hypertension. So mentioning high blood pressure, very important when you talk about the kidneys, because high blood pressure left unchecked damages the kidneys, and damaged kidneys cause more hypertension. So the kidney is very important in regulating high blood pressure. They regulate your bone health. And how do they do that? Because they regulate calcium, phosphorus, vitamin D, very important. So we in the Caribbean, we tend to think our vitamin D levels are perfect and we're wonderful, and that is not so. When we're testing, we're finding that it absolutely is not so. In fact, most of us have very low vitamin D levels. So it's important that we not take it for granted that we have good vitamin D levels. But in order for vitamin D to do what it's supposed to do and participate in keeping your bones healthy, it needs to be activated. So not you have the vitamin D coming from the sun, absorbed through the skin, it needs to be activated in your liver. So your liver needs to be healthy. So alcoholism comes into play here. If alcohol destroys your liver, you're not absorbing vitamin D well. And then it's activated in the kidney. So for it to do what it has to do, your kidneys need to be healthy. If your kidneys are not healthy, then your vitamin D is not active and you're not getting that protection and absorbing calcium well. So you are at risk for fractures and so many issues that we see in patients with late-stage kidney disease. Your kidneys also help keep your blood count normal. I don't know if there's anybody online who has ever had a low blood count. Many of us do, but there are degrees of low blood count. It could be very severe. So for example, in women who bleed very heavily, particularly when they have their periods, their blood count can drop. But the kidneys play an important role in maintaining your blood count because they produce a hormone, among other hormones that they produce, called erythropoietin. What is the role of erythropoietin? And if anybody remembers Lance Armstrong, that is the hormone that he was using. So Lance Armstrong was injecting himself with erythropoietin because what does it do? It stimulates your bone marrow to produce red blood cells. So when you're on the mountain and he was biking, of course, if you have more red blood cells, that means you have more oxygen getting to your organs. So you do better than everybody else. And that is the advantage that that particular drug gave him and why it was illegal, clearly, because you're giving yourself an advantage over everybody else. But ordinarily, we all produce that hormone, but it's made in the kidneys. So if the kidneys are not working, it's not making that well, that means our blood count drops over time. And interestingly, that is what actually brings the symptom that generally brings people in very late in the process of kidney disease is them being short of breath and feeling very weak. And that normally is because there's a lot going on and your heart is at risk by that point. But what tends to bring people in because they're feeling it is that they cannot breathe well, their blood count is low, they're looking pale, and that sort of thing because erythropoietin levels are low and your blood count is very low, sometimes critically low, that we have to transfuse and give blood that we don't have in the blood bank most of the time. So those are some of the fundamental functions of the kidneys. So what it tells us, if the kidneys are not functioning well, those things are not happening well. And so we see all the consequences of that.
Yeah.
And importantly, kidney health is important for heart health. So whenever we think of the kidneys, we have to think of the heart because protecting your kidneys means protecting your heart. If the kidneys go bad, the heart goes bad. If the heart goes bad, the kidneys tend to go bad as well.
Oh, Dr. Clark, you've given us so much information here. But one thing that struck of me, we know within our communities that we consume alcohol, and I'd say more or less on a social occasion. Not referring to someone who's an alcoholic, but someone who consumes a couple of glasses of liquor on social occasions. Can that be harmful in the long run, or as compared to someone who has alcoholism as a disease?
Moderation is the key to life. Moderation is important. So somebody who is occasionally consuming a glass of wine, a glass of liquor, generally does not run into problems. And in fact, there are very few patients or individuals that a doctor would say, you can never, absolutely never have any alcohol whatsoever. There are patients, for example, who have liver disease or for some reason or the other, very specific, that they can't consume alcohol, who we would say absolutely not. But the average person can occasionally have some alcohol. So in the long term, moderate and responsible consumption of alcohol does not lead to problems. It's the abuse of alcohol that leads to problems. In the first place, alcohol dehydrates. You realize when you drink beer or any alcohol, you tend to pee a lot. So this urinating if not kept in check, if you keep drinking, not replacing your water, that could lead to dehydration. Dehydration can affect the kidneys. The other problem with alcohol abuse is that it could damage the liver, which is the organ that it damages the most, apart from the fact that it causes what we call varices in your esophagus or your gullet. So just like you see varicose veins on the legs, what happens on the inside in alcoholics is that because of the the liver damage, you have a lot of the veins popping up in the esophagus, and those veins could rupture. And we see it in hospitals. Patients who've been alcoholic over a long period of time, those veins rupture and they die because they just essentially vomited all the blood they had in them. To not be dramatic, but that's the reality of what you see sometimes. So, and then anybody who has severe liver disease, a lot of the time it could lead to what we call hepatorenal syndrome. So that means the liver is affected and that is affecting the kidneys. And that is a cause of, the risk of dying when somebody has hepatorenal disease is quite high.
Yeah. A couple of things. You mentioned the stage of kidney disease. So I'm taking from you that there are 5 stages. The 5 stages. Also, how does one know? Even before that, you mentioned people who have a lot of bleeding. So I know that I know that people usually come to me for health stuff, concerns. And then I think I'm in a position, I have a little knowledge to refer them to the medical provider usually, because people don't like to go to doctors, men and women, particularly men. But I know, particularly for, say, a woman who has an issue with a lot of bleeding, but that could be the cause of several things. But you're saying that, am I understanding that, say, a woman who has a cause of bleeding, say genital bleeding, that maybe the kidneys is something that they should be concerned about to have checked?
No, not necessarily. What I was trying to say is the symptoms you can have. So in women, one of the most common things we see, the reason that people are anemic, because you find way more women who have low blood counts than men. And a big part of the reason why women tend to be so anemic is because of heavy bleeding during their periods or even outside of their periods. Just to put a plug in here that anybody who is menopausal, who has stopped menstruating and all of a sudden starts menstruating again, not to use the word emergency, but that is you have to get to your doctor quickly. That a lot of the time could be a sign of cancer. Just a little aside, a little segue from what we're talking about today, but post-menopausal bleeding, cancer has to be ruled out before anything else. But in women, a lot of the time, particularly in Black women, the problem is fibroids. So you have fibroids and the fibroids are resulting in very heavy bleeding, and those women tend to have a low blood count. So I just wanted to compare how that feels with the low blood count being caused by kidney disease, which the mechanism by which it happens is different. The one happening because of kidney disease is much slower, and it's because of the lack of erythropoietin. The woman who's menstruating and has heavy bleeding, she has no problems with erythropoietin if she has no kidney disease. So she's just bleeding because of her fibroids, and that, of course, she has to see her gynecologist, and that has to be rectified. Once you rectify that problem, her blood count should be okay. Whereas the person with kidney disease is a completely different, because there are different reasons why our blood count can be low. Low folic acid levels, low vitamin B levels, the bleeding from periods. The obvious, for example, somebody who has a gunshot wound or stab wound who loses massive amounts of blood. But the reason it happens in kidneys is because of lack of erythropoietin. So it's just making sort of a comparative, sort of trying to create a picture of what would be familiar to women. If you're anemic because of a low blood count, because of heavy bleeding, the symptoms would be the same as if you're anemic because of a lack of erythropoietin. But the reason it's happening is different.
Yeah, this is such a wonderful conversation because a lot of persons, many persons, generally, they don't like to go to the medical provider. They don't like to go to the doctor, particularly in the communities, us guys. I believe it's, the statistics show it too. So it's very important. I would say it's very important to have at least one medical checkup, an annual, a year, and that should include, I think, both blood and urine. That would tell you what's going on with your kidneys. So say if I do that check, at what point should I get concerned that there is some issue with my kidney health? Because we have two. Also, I know of, there's a young man who died in the I Beautiful constituency of Soufrière, he had one kidney. He never knew. He never knew, unfortunately. So again, how important is it to do and do the medical checkup? Will it tell you how many kidneys you have?
Okay. The annual physical that you mentioned, very important. In fact, it's so important and it saves so much money. Most insurances would actually pay, whereas your average insurance, at least here in St. Lucia, for any medical condition, they pay, it's an 80-20 sort of scenario. They pay only paying part of it in terms of the reimbursement for your annual physical or preventative care, because that's what you, at the end of the day, that is what we're trying to do with the annual physical. You're trying to catch things early or ensure that there is no problem. So it is important that every adult sees their doctor once a year. So in countries like Cuba, where there's a heavy focus on primary healthcare to keep people out of hospitals, because that's where the money is spent in healthcare. The burden on the healthcare budget is in secondary care and in tertiary care. But if we're able to keep people healthy or catch things early in primary care, then we save ourselves as a country a lot of money. And that's where the focus is. And that's the importance of those yearly physicals. Now, if I do a yearly physical, every doctor knows from the time in third year med school, in fact, I dare say first and second year, what that entails. And those are some basic things. And that includes your kidney function test. So it will include your urine test. And the reason for that is if there's a problem with the kidney, it will show up in the urine. So sometimes when it doesn't even show up in your blood test, it will show up in the urine because the urine is being made. And if you could put up that picture that you had again, you could just show again. The urine is being made, your pee is being made in the kidneys. Complex process by which that happens. But at the end of the day, the urine that we see, that yellow, nice yellow, warm little fluid, is made in those kidneys that we see up here. When the urine is made, it comes down through those two tubes that we see, the ureter, and it goes to the bladder. We see the bladder labeled. When the bladder is full, we feel like we want to pee and we empty our bladder. This is a man. So of course the urine is coming down what we call the ureter, that tube that goes to the penis. In women is there's a vaginal opening and there's the other opening. That's where that urine will come from. So that urine contains toxins, it contains extra sodium, and of course it contains water, the excess water that we don't need. So if I'm walking in the desert or if I've been exercising, my urine is more concentrated and my urine is less. And that is because of the kidneys. That is their job. So when your kidneys are not working very well, they don't do that. So you could be in the desert and you're still peeing a whole lot and then you become dehydrated. So when they're not working well, they don't do what they normally supposed to do. So your yearly physical will look for all of that. Your doctor will do a physical exam. They will check your breast. They may do your pap smear or send it to your gynecologist or your nurse to get your pap smear done. In men, your prostate, check your stool, check your kidneys, check your liver, check your blood count. So those are some of the basic things that will be done. If everything is okay, your doctor will let you know. If everything is not okay, your doctor may make a referral to a pertinent specialist. So if something is wrong with your liver, for example, send you to the gastroenterologist or the liver specialist. Something is wrong with your kidney, or they find in your pee there's protein. Normally there's not supposed to be protein in your pee. If you're spilling protein in your pee, they would send it to the nephrologist. That's us. If there's a problem with your heart, if they listen and your heart is beating irregularly or there are pauses, they would send you to the cardiologist. So that is the importance of doing your yearly physical exam. Would your yearly physical exam necessarily pick up one kidney? No. And I will tell you why. Because as part of a basic yearly physical exam, you don't do an ultrasound. Most times a one kidney scenario is picked up if for one reason or the other, we do an ultrasound. So if I go to my physical, but I tell my doctor, well, I'm having this odd belly pain and that sort of thing, that is an extra that we know we have to add. If I tell my doctor I'm having air pain, normally he's checking my air anyway, but anything extra you say at your yearly physical, then that will be checked for. And that is where sometimes you pick up that somebody has one kidney. It's important to know that you can live a healthy life with one kidney. So if you have one kidney, but no hypertension, no diabetes, which are the leading causes of kidney disease, no large kidney stones obstructing your one kidney, no enlarged prostate that is causing problems, you could live a perfectly healthy life with your one kidney and never know unless you do an ultrasound. And the reason we know that one kidney, because we see patients sometimes who have one kidney, or even when somebody has had kidney failure and they require dialysis, for example, which we'll talk about a little later on, or when you have to transplant them, it's one kidney you give. It's just one kidney you get. So when you get in a transplant, you don't get two kidneys. It's one kidney and you can live a healthy life with just that. So one kidney is not a problem. Patients have, so sometimes we get patients who, for one reason or the other, after an accident or after a gunshot wound, have to have one kidney removed. They can live a healthy life with the other kidney once they're protected. So just so we understand, any disease that affects your kidneys, say diabetes, hypertension, HIV, left untreated, they're normally affecting both kidneys. So it's not like I have diabetes, which is poorly controlled, it's only going to affect my left kidney or no, it affects both. So whether I have one or I have two, it is affecting both of them, or it's affecting my one kidney. So your life with one kidney is essentially the same as your life with two kidneys, although the average person is born with two kidneys. What we find though, what is natural and normal that will happen, if somebody has one kidney, it will generally be a little larger than if the person who has the two kidneys, because you essentially have one kidney doing the job of two kidneys. But it's not that it's a health problem having one kidney. So you could donate, for example, if you have a brother who has kidney disease, or friend or sister, you can perfectly well safely donate one kidney and be left with one kidney and have no increased risk of disease than the general population.
Wow, that's so amazing. That's really amazing. For those of us who are tuning in now, or who will tune in on the live later to watch, we are online with, my name is Rowan Fanlon. I'm a financial an accountant, as well as a financial literacy professional. It's all about educating the general public, wherever you may be, so that we can make better, well-informed decisions. We have today as our guest Dr. Merle Clark, and Dr. Clark we are discussing matters of the kidney health. What does that entail? How can we have a better, healthier living to have better kidneys to help our life? Yeah. So, Dr. Clark, again, you mentioned about the urine. So to me, urine is a bad thing because it might look okay, but you don't know what's in there. So, if I go again, I do my yearly physical. Yeah. In my case, I have bad genes in my family, so I do the yeah. But if I have my kidneys begin to be compromised, okay, what can I do? I know the medical professional will tell us, but then we are here for the education of it. What can I do to help myself apart from drinking more water?
Yeah.
What can I do in terms of eating? You mentioned as well that diabetes, hypertension, all of that affects us, but I'm concerned. Doctor says,
what can you do?
Yeah, what can I do? What can the average person do?
The first thing is knowing what is causing the problem, first and foremost. Because to understand what needs to be done, you need to know what is causing the problem. And sometimes it's actually quite difficult for us to determine unless it's obvious. So I would say most of the time it's obvious what the problem is. Because diabetes and hypertension, and if you hear me mention diabetes and hypertension 100 times, is because we cannot do or talk about kidney disease without talking about diabetes and hypertension. So if a patient comes to me, most of the time, when a patient is sent to nephrology, most of the time that patient is diabetic or hypertensive or both. Importantly, a patient who has diabetes, which is left untreated, and we're not talking about diabetes, which is well controlled and treated well, and that person is doing what they have to do and exercising. We're talking about diabetes, which may never have been diagnosed, and that patient has had diabetes for many years. And that has compromised not only the kidneys, because if you have problems with the kidneys, you probably have problems with the eyes. There's probably some problem with the blood vessels. So the heart is probably compromised to a certain extent. Your risk of stroke has increased. Your risk of foot disease has increased. So when we have the amputations and that because of diabetes, that is where all of this is coming from. Because diagnosis is not made early because patients are not coming in, because it's very easy to diagnose diabetes and it's very easy to diagnose hypertension. The criteria are very straightforward. Anybody in first year medical school knows that. But if we don't diagnose it, then we're not treating it, then it causes the problems. So is it diabetes, hypertension? Your role is to control the diabetes or hypertension. If we get somebody with early stage kidney disease and they are diabetic, your aim is to control the blood sugar. So sometimes somebody with early stage kidney disease, and there are 5 stages, as we said, based on something called your glomerular filtration rate. You'll remind me if I forget, because I just talk a lot. If
That's
I
good
forget,
information. It's all good, yeah? Good information.
the
yeah,
original
absolutely.
question.
Yes.
question was. But let me talk a bit about the stages of kidney disease. And those
Yes.
stages apply no matter what the cause of kidney disease is. And your causes are varied, but diabetes and hypertension are responsible for about 70% of the causes of the cases. But also, what we have to say about hypertension is sometimes, especially when a patient comes in late, stage 3 or down, and I'll tell you what each stage is, we don't know what came first. Did the hypertension come first, or did the kidney disease come first? Sometimes it's impossible to tell.
Yeah.
And why is that? Because as we said earlier, the kidneys regulate blood pressure.
Yes.
So if you have kidney disease, you are very likely going to be hypertensive. So if somebody comes in, they already have kidney disease and they're hypertensive, it could be that the kidneys are causing the high blood pressure, or the high blood pressure caused the kidney disease, and now the kidneys are worsening the problem. So that is why, for example, in young people, any young person, no matter if every single person in your family has high blood pressure, if a young person, any 18-year-old, any 20-year-old, 25, 30, 40-year-old even, coming in with high blood pressure, especially very elevated blood pressures, it has to be investigated thoroughly to see what is causing the problem. A lot of the time, the problem is in the kidney. So it's starting there. So if you're able to manage that, you cure the high blood pressure. That's about 5%. There's about 5% of high blood pressure, which is curable. 95% of high blood pressure, you can't cure. What you can do is manage it. Sometimes it can be managed with just lifestyle, so diet, exercise, and a lot of the time it requires medication, but not everybody needs medication. But to go back to your initial question, I'm told I have kidney disease. What stage do I have? It could be stage 1. In stage 1, you have what we call a normal, your kidneys are functioning well. They're functioning at a high level. So something called your glomerular filtration rate. The word glomerular is coming
And
from
we'll
part of
slow it down.
Okay,
you
okay, let me
get
slow
the
it down.
words, and it is repeated, slow it down. Yes.
glomerular filtration rate, or GFR. If
Gotcha.
you ever look at your blood test, and I know in the US, for example, you do have access to your labs.
Yeah.
You and in St. Lucia, even we copy the labs and we send to patients. Your GFR, that is that number that you will see when you look under your kidney function. You will see words like BUN. If you're interested after, you could go look at your labs. When we look at the kidney function, these are the things they would report to you. BUN, or blood urea nitrogen, that's a waste product. Creatinine, that's a waste product. Sodium, that's your salt. Chlorine, that's another electrolyte. Potassium, your CO2. So those are the things that make up your kidney function that are reported. And then you'll see at the end your GFR, or glomerular filtration rate. Your glomerular, every lab now provides that. So if you look, you'll see it. Your glomerular filtration rate tells you how well or poorly the kidneys are working at a glance. It's never that easy, but it gives you a very good idea. So a normal GFR in a young person would be more than 90. So if I have a young person with a normal GFR, but the urine has protein in it, that's stage 1. The urine is not supposed to have protein in it. If there is protein in the pee, we have a problem. We have to investigate it, figure out what's going on, but normally we can treat that and manage it. We don't run into problems. Stage 2, that person's GFR is a little low. It's anywhere between 60 and 89. That's still considered mild damage. Most of the time, there will be protein in the pee or blood in the pee, something that we can't explain. It has to be investigated. Stage 1 and 2 are considered mild. Now, I have to stick a pin in here because as we age, your GFR drops. And because that's going to happen to everybody, it's considered normal. So I don't expect you or me to have the exact GFR as a 20-year-old, because a 20-year-old is going to be higher. A baby is very high, and as we age, it drops. So past the age of 40, for everybody, it's going to start dropping slowly every year. And that's considered normal because you're aging, your muscle mass is less, the kidneys have to do a bit less. So it's considered
breakdown.
normal.
Yes.
Yeah. So whereas in the 20, 30-year-old, I'm expecting this GFR to be 90. In the 60, 70-year-old, I'm expecting it to be about 60. It should not be less than 60 for anybody. So take a look at yours when you go home to see where you are at. Less than 60, you still may have a problem. And your doctor should have noted that and told you. So 60 to 89, normally stage 2. Anything, so 30 to 59 is stage 3. That's considered moderate damage to the kidneys. Usually the P is abnormal as well when we test it. Stage 3 is considered moderate damage. Stage 4 and 5 are a lot more severe. Stage 4, that number is anywhere between 15 and 29. So you see, we're getting quite low.
Tapabo.
Yes.
That's not good.
So most people are coming in or being referred in stage 3 or 4. And stage 5, so the only people who have kidney disease or who need dialysis or transplant or peritoneal dialysis are the people in stage 5 kidney disease. That number is less than 15. So most people generally less than 10 is when they start having a lot of symptoms. They're not eating, they're vomiting every time they eat, their legs swelling, they have swelling around their eyes. When you look at the blood, the levels of toxins are very high. So all of that tells us you need to start dialysis for that person or they need a kidney transplant. So what is our aim? What is your doctor advising you if you come in with stage 1? We need to find what's the problem. So if that person is diabetic, hypertensive, it's obvious what the problem is most of the time. If that person has HIV, which has not been treated, because normally treating your HIV right now is another chronic disease in essence. So it can be treated and you don't have a high viral load damaging the kidneys. HIV loves the kidneys. So if left untreated, it is one of the organs.
Again, yeah. So don't want to digress. I'll hold you on that point. Something like HIV, for example, and I'll keep you on that. I remember the point we were on. When you say high viral load, you're saying this would imply as well, if someone has HIV and someone has a contact where they get another dose of HIV, that can increase the viral load.
It depends. The person without having contact with anybody else could have a high viral load if it's not treated, because that's what the virus wants to do. It wants to survive and multiply. Because if somebody gets infected and HIV wasn't multiplying, we don't have a problem. It would go away essentially and that sort of thing. The problem with HIV or most viruses is that everything is trying to multiply. So the continuous multiplication of the virus is what causes the high viral load, and then what causes it overwhelms your immune system. So that is how HIV leads to AIDS or acquired immune deficiency syndrome. So that immune system just cannot take again. You cannot defend yourself. And most of the time, it's not the HIV that kills the person, it's the consequences of those diseases that attack your body because your body is not defending itself. So be it the TB, so you have a higher rate of tuberculosis in patients with HIV or AIDS, I should say, the kidney disease, or so many of what we call opportunistic. So the word opportunistic in medicine means, that person is not defending themselves, so I'm going to come in, because most of us, for example, we get a cold. In somebody who does not have a problem with the immune system, I'm defending myself, within 5 days I could clear my cold. But if your immune system is compromised, and the biggest compromiser we know is AIDS, then you're not defending. There's no defense, even against the simplest thing, so that could kill you, essentially. So the HIV virus can directly affect the kidneys and cause rapid deterioration of kidney function. So whereas in a person with diabetes and hypertension, it takes many, many, many years, most of the time, for it to cause the kidney damage. Just so we understand, and I like to say, we don't like diabetes and hypertension, but they're a bit respectful of our organs. They give us enough time to detect it and manage it. So if we don't do that and we're not going to our doctor and we don't get our blood sugars checked and blood pressures checked, they're over time causing the damage. But on average, for diabetes, which is the leading cause of kidney disease, to even start causing a problem, we're looking at 7 to 10 years. So if somebody comes to me and they already have stage 3 kidney disease, what that tells me off the bat is very likely you've had diabetes for well over 10 years. It wasn't detected because most people come and they say, I've never been sick. And even at stage 3, they don't feel anything. But if the diabetes has caused so much damage to your kidneys, the diabetes has been around for a very, very long time. It's either that you ignored symptoms, and some of the common symptoms of diabetes are you're feeling very thirsty all the time. You drink it, the more water you drink, the more you're thirsty because those sugars are high. You pee a lot. Now there are different reasons.
Something else, Dr. Clark. So even if this, what you just said about feeling the thirsty and drinking a lot of fluids, sometimes that could be attributable to the medication you're taking as well. That can cause
that could be attributable.
Yeah.
So just like I said, peeing a lot, there are many reasons you could pee a lot. But one of the symptoms, if you have a combination of those symptoms, a family history of diabetes, losing weight, for example, when you're not really trying, eating a lot but losing weight, drinking a lot and just needing to drink, feeling thirsty all the time, urinating a lot, itching of your skin. Those are some of the classic symptoms of diabetes. Now, does everybody have those symptoms? No. In medicine, 1 and 1 is not always 2. But sometimes people do have those symptoms and they ignore them. But checking your blood sugar, which again is another part. So doing your HIV, hepatitis, your blood sugar would also form part of your routine physical. So again, that's why those things are important. So even if you don't have symptoms, your doctor, when you do a physical, your blood pressure will be checked, your blood sugar will be checked, so those things can be picked up. And people tend to think doctors always want to put on pills. We hate to write pills. That's a reality, if I'm being honest. No doctor wants to look at somebody and be writing 10 medications on their prescription, despite what people think. It hurts your heart because you also thinking, I'm a human being. If I had to take all this medication, would I want to? And the reality is no. So when we can avoid giving medication, we do. But there's a lot of the time we simply cannot.
Yeah.
So if it is detected, then it is treated. So that's why you treat your high blood pressure and your diabetes, to prevent the complications, the heart disease, the kidney disease, the strokes, the heart attacks, and all of that. So back to your original question, which was, what do I do? Once I've detected what the problem is, I'm managing the problem, the underlying problem. If I'm able to control your diabetes and you have stage 1 kidney disease, we could keep that there. And it generally doesn't progress. If we are not able to control it, or you don't follow up, you're not taking your medication, you're not doing your diet, you're not exercising, the diabetes will remain uncontrolled and it's going to continue damaging the kidneys. Same goes with blood pressure. If your blood pressures are controlled, we sort of halt the problem early on. But if the blood pressures remain uncontrolled, they remain very high, not only are your eyes being damaged, just like diabetes, the risk of stroke is increasing, risk of heart attack is increasing, risk of kidney disease is increasing. So that's the first thing. Treat the problem. If treating the problem alone doesn't work, so somebody who has massive amounts of protein in your urine, there are many new medications that we could use to help with that. So I'm sure everybody has seen those ads on TV for Jardians. Jardians have some very nice jingles. So the class of drugs to which Jardians belongs. So Jardians initially was designed for diabetes, but right now we use it way more for heart protection and kidney protection. So if just by controlling your pressures and your sugars, I can't get rid of the protein in your urine, normally we would add that on. We hear of the medications like Ozempic and Mounjaro, which I use. Most people know it for weight loss. That's what the celebrities are using it for.
Doc,
But
Doc, it's getting so excited. Information here. I'll get back to you, but we have I want to acknowledge some friends and people in the diaspora, and Watch Radio is all about the diaspora, the UK, Canada, the United States, and elsewhere. And also, I recognize that we have some persons from Kenya at the moment who are on. I would like to welcome and say hello and greetings. Greetings. As well as the persons who are going to be looking at the live later. If you have questions, again, you could feel free to put it in that chat now and later. And if you're on and you're tuned in the chat, put a free in the chat so I could see. We are waiting, we are watching. Put a free in the chat, those of you all who are online. While that's being done, someone, Doc, will get back to that question, to what you were speaking about. Someone mentioned, I'm not seeing those frees coming in the chat though, but someone asked, is frothy urine a concern?
yes, frothy urine is a concern because most of the time, what frothy urine indicates is that you have protein in the urine. So that's one of the obvious signs. So sometimes you can have protein in the urine that we can detect by checking the urine, and sometimes it's very obvious. So is it very obvious? Almost, let me see how I describe it. Like it looks like you put soap powder in your pee, or if like when an egg breaks, if you boil in the egg and you boil it for too long and it breaks and it forms that thing, it looks like. And might I tell you, Rowan, that there are solutions to ignore it. There are solutions because it's a question we as nephrologists ask a lot. And then you say, you know what? Just pee in a bucket and take a picture of it for me. And when they send the picture, I'm like, so that whole layer of foam on your pee wasn't concerning to you. And it is concerning. So frothy urine is always a concern and an indication that you're spilling protein. If you're spilling protein, we have to investigate to find out why. If you have diabetes, that's probably the reason. If you don't have diabetes, then we have to try to figure out why you're spilling the protein. Because what is the problem with spilling protein? Not only does it indicate to us that there is kidney disease, so anybody who's spilling protein has kidney disease, except in very rare cases, especially of young male athletes, especially if the urine is collected later in the day. So we usually want urine tests done earlier in the morning when you haven't been walking or you haven't had a recent infection, fever, and that sort of thing. If there's protein in the pee, we need to investigate to find out why, because normally there shouldn't be. So if the protein, you keep spilling protein, what happens is that you're scarring those kidneys, and that causes further deterioration of the kidneys. So yes, frothy urine always needs to be investigated.
So I think it's a good thing. So when we pee, we should look at that pee to see what's going on
Pee,
there. That's just a
look
little
at it.
experiment, and that goes for all of us,
Yes.
male or men and women.
Yes.
Yeah.
Look at the poop, look at the
Yeah.
pee. Because when you ask people, they say, I was like, yes, we have to look at it. Because if we don't look at it, there's really no way of knowing. Just make a concerted effort to look at it's coming from you. And it gives you a lot of an indication of what's going on. So just to segue a little again, if you're looking at your stool and you realize your stool is very dark, that by itself gives us so much information. That means it could be, if you're on iron tablets, for example, that's the reason your stool is dark or looking dark green. But if your stool is looking very black all of a sudden, well, that could mean that you're bleeding somewhere between your stomach and your large intestine or your
boy.
small intestine. You are bleeding. So dark stool,
Yeah.
that's not good. Tells us something. So it's important that we look at those things.
Dr. Clark, we want to thank you. So much education. The time is short, but we've covered so much, and there's still a lot to cover. Again, please put any questions, concerns you have in the chat. Share the live, and those who will look at the live after, please feel free to put your questions in there. We'll attempt to get to you. And if you see below, there's a banner with my contact information and also Dr. Clark's information. I want to address a lot of persons I know around me have this issue called kidney stones. Is that reversible? What does it entail to fix it? And also, if somebody has kidney disease, particularly us in the communities from the Caribbean, etc., we believe a lot in the bush. So can the bush fix this? I'm not saying bush doctor. I'm just saying can the
bush fix it?
Traditional, I would say, medicine fix this.
Yeah.
And so kidney stones and traditional and
Medicine.
Yeah.
Kidney stones are not uncommon, and mind you, they're viewed more as a problem more of industrialized countries than poorer or less industrialized countries. So kidney stones there are different things that make up kidney stones. The most common ones are like calcium stones, most common ones, but they also could be made of something called uric acid, something called cysteine, not as common. Some kidney stones can be picked up on ultrasound, some cannot, based on what's making it. But what is universal in kidney stones, especially if you're passing a kidney stone, is that it's very painful. Men in particular cannot take it, and women say it's worse than childbirth. So that tells you how much pain it is if you pass a kidney stone. Now, a kidney stone, if we put up the picture again, a kidney stone does not have to cause kidney disease, and kidney stones are not considered kidney disease. Because interestingly enough, kidney stones tend to go more to urology than nephrology. What is the difference between those two specialties? The urologists are normally the surgeons. So, for example, a kidney has to be removed. That's your urologist. The prostate has to be removed. That's your urologist. So we deal with the same system, which is that system you're seeing on your screen, the urinary system, but they do surgeries. We don't do surgeries. They deal more with the kidney stones. And why? Because sometimes kidney stones, especially if they are large, so any kidney stone more than 1 centimeter, theoretically, does not pass. So where are the kidney stones formed? Again, we go back to the kidneys. Normally, they start in the kidneys, in the pelvis. So where you see the little yellow part in the cut kidney, in that general area. Now, the aim of the kidneys, if you look at the position of the kidneys, your kidneys are closer to your back. So the pain of the kidney stone is sort of coming from the back, because what that stone is trying to do, come from the kidney, come down the tube, is following the tract of your pee, come down the yellow tubes labeled ureter, pass through your bladder, and then pass through your tube, your urethra, to get out. Those tubes are very small. Just so you understand how small it is, if a stone more than 1 centimeter, 1 centimeter is a small size. If it's more than 1 centimeter, normally it does not pass through the tubes. But even stones less than 1 centimeter, which theoretically can pass, it's a lot of trouble for them to pass, and that's what causes the intense pain. So in the trajectory of the stone from the kidney going towards the front, because those tubes, as you see, are crossing over, so they're coming to your front because your bladder is more towards the front, correct? When your bladder is full and you want to pee, the underside of your belly is where it's sort of getting big. So I'm trying to come from the back to come towards the front through the ureters, and so it could be expelled. Some people will pass the stone, there'll be blood in the pee. Another reason why you should look at your pee. Common cause of blood in the pee, which does not mean something more sinister, because there are other causes of blood in the pee. Prostate cancer will result in blood in the pee, which sometimes is obvious, which sometimes is not obvious. So another reason that we have to do our pee test annually. The more serious kidney disease is called IgA nephropathy, very serious, common cause of kidney disease, that could cause blood in the pee. But kidney stones also are, I would say, benign in that once the stone passes, the blood usually stops after that. But very, very painful process. Once it passes, normally, the issue is preventing you from forming more. Anybody who's had one kidney stone is at higher risk of forming more kidney stones. And again, that's why it's important. So if you ever pass a kidney stone, most people describe it as hearing the ping in the toilet. If you had a ping and you could catch it, take your kidney stone, because then it could be tested and we get a better idea of what kind of stone it is. And that helps us guide treatment better. For example, what I mean by that, if your stone is because of uric acid, then I have to treat high uric acid levels. Uric acid, another thing that it could cause is gout. And I think most people know about gout, that pain that people get and they can't touch their toe and their joints. So if that's the reason, that's what you treat. But no matter what is causing the stone, it's important that you drink lots and lots and lots. So before you even get to the bush medicine and the natural remedies, lots of water is the mainstay. Because what you want is to keep your urine dilute enough that you're not forming more stones. Now, sometimes patients cannot pass the stone or they have many, many stones. So urology comes in and there are different methods. So right now, whereas back in the day, in the 1980s, 1990s, kidney stone surgery was open surgery. They had to cut you up and it's a big surgery. Now it doesn't have to be that. So there are different things that could be used, laser, something called lithotripsy, and you break up the stones. And because it's in small pieces, then that could pass. But the risk of reforming is still there. And that is why lots of fluid is important. Now, there are natural remedies that could be used. And I train in Cuba, and actually there's an emphasis actually on which natural remedies can be used. Now, I'm familiar with all the herbs, and I've forgotten some of it, to be honest, because I don't know them in St. Lucia, that can be used to help reduce the risk of forming kidney stones. So definitely there are natural remedies that can help. But are they the end all and cure all of kidney stones? No. But it's important to know that if you pass a kidney stone, or if we reduce the risk, there's no reason for your kidney stone to lead to you having end-stage kidney disease and needing dialysis. That will only happen if you have kidney stones blocking both of your kidneys. And we could go back to the picture again. That picture is very important. When you have the blockage, so if I have a very large kidney stone that has been left untreated and it has not passed, if that kidney stone, for example, is at the base of the bladder, what it does, it blocks the free flow of urine, a pee. Anything that causes the blockage of free flow of urine could cause you risking infections and you're risking backup pressure on the kidneys. So for example, if on the right side, I have a stone that I have not passed, it's large, I have not gone to the urologist, and it just stays there, what that stone can do is it blocks the free flow of pee from that kidney, and it can damage that kidney over time. If I have stones, I'd have to be very unlucky to have stones on both sides that are blocking both of my kidneys and damaging both kidneys. So a stone normally would do one side. But if that stone is at the base of the bladder, if we look at the picture, the two yellow tubes join at the bladder, correct?
Yes.
And the bladder comes down and then you have one tube. But if you're unlucky and that stone is at the base of the bladder where you're only blocking one tube, then it could damage both kidneys if left untreated. But usually, stones can be managed and treated and they don't cause permanent damage. What they cause is more pain. Pain patients normally come in. Anything that causes pain, patients will go to their doctor. So normally you find things that cause pain don't end up causing end-stage kidney disease because patients come in. It's the things that don't cause pain that people don't come in. Your diabetes isn't causing pain. Your hypertension isn't causing pain. The kidney disease itself isn't causing pain. So people are not coming in, and that is why things are happening slowly. And by the time people come in, it's already very late. Not too late to do anything, but say if a patient comes to me with a GFR of 19, my job here, whereas if you come to me for GFR, and we mentioned what GFR was before, the filtration rate of the kidneys, if you come to me for 53, I'm focusing on controlling your diabetes, controlling your hypertension, exercise, diet, protecting your kidneys. You're not using a lot of over-the-counter medication and that sort of thing that could damage them. If you come to me with 19, my job changes. I still have to do those things. It's also much more expensive to treat you because now I have to keep your blood count up. This same erythropoietin that we spoke of, very expensive. And I now have to start preparing you for dialysis or transplant because it doesn't say that you'll need it now, but it says we have to start preparing for it because we don't have as much time as we would have had if we were starting at 59.
Yeah.
19 and 59 are two completely different scenarios.
Yeah, Dr. Clark, we're on a roll. We're on a roll. Let me tell you, so much information. I see that we'll have to do a second part because there's so much that we have not covered. For example, how are the kidney stones formed? We cannot address this now because we have about 5 minutes left. But I'm hoping, and those of you in the chat, if you want the second part with Dr. Clark, put it in the chat. Second part, just write it in. So, but I would like to ask you, we have about 5 minutes. Let's look at the insurance aspect, because when you do have kidney failure or deteriorating kidneys, it's going to be very, 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 very costly. We mentioned earlier, I mentioned about the term with living benefits. There's also other things I've spoken in the past, like IUL, Index Universal Life. These are things that we need practically to help us, because apart from having health insurance, there's a cap on those things.
Yes.
I shouldn't say a cap, but there's a time, sometimes you exhaust what the health insurance will cover. So sometimes you cannot work because you have those illnesses. So where's the money going to come from to you with your family and those things? So what are we going to do? So we look to some of the products I mentioned that helps you with chronic illnesses, the terminal illnesses, critical illnesses. I would like to ask you, in your experience, what is your experience particularly with insurances? I know when you have a group policy, it's a little easier because there's no underwriting and the group policy covers you, but generally, because I've known some people, particularly from the Caribbean, beautiful island St. Lucia, who have kidney disease, they're on dialysis, and the insurance actually cut them off, which is a very bad thing. What can we do? What's your experience?
I mean, I think it's another reason that we encourage people to have insurance. So sometimes patients will say insurance is a scheme and blah, blah, blah. But the truth is, when you have a major medical issue, it does come into play. The cost of dialysis, if we have to look at the cost of it, or kidney transplant, it's just more than the average person can afford. Now, in the US, for example, so I think when you look at it, and the US has a lot more data than most jurisdictions, I think the kidney disease population or the dialysis population is like 0.0, a very small number, 2% of the population. However, using up 2% of the healthcare budget. 2% of the US healthcare budget is a couple of billions, a lot of billions. So to understand how much money we're talking about. Dialysis for most people, I think, is covered in the US, but that's a rarity. In most jurisdictions, it is not. So if we look at our St. Lucian context, the average cost, say the cost of an average dialysis patient, in fact, when we did the analysis in the hospital, what it's costing to provide it is over $600 EC, which in US would be, you do the calculation, Ron.
About $2 in US.
Yes, it's expensive because you're doing this 3 times a week minimum. So dialysis is something that's been done 3 times a week minimum. The cost of medication is not included here. This is just the cost of the procedure. It's a very expensive procedure. So 2 something US, but 6 something for the average patient. Most people on dialysis, for the reasons you said, are not working because my blood count is very low. I feel weak. My blood pressures are high, or even sometimes after dialysis, they're very low.
So it leads you to financial ruin, and that's a big cause of
absolutely
stress. That's going to kill yourself.
We're looking at patients, for example, who, remember we said most of them have diabetes. They may have an amputation. So these are not, and we're looking at very young people in St. Lucia, in their 40s and 50s. So whereas so dialysis,
based on the age, really, because you have some very young people in the 20s who have kidney failure and diabetes.
You absolutely can. So it's not like the books say that's a disease of old people, or the books used to say. It's a disease of young people. Our median age is in the 40s, early 50s in St. Lucia. So people who normally would be working, be the breadwinners of the family, cannot work. So you do need that sort of protection. So in the private sector, for example, close to $600 again, the cost of 1 session. So you're looking at $6,000 a month just for dialysis treatment. And that does not include medication, which probably adds another $1,000 if we are to treat those patients properly. So that adds up a lot. So your insurance can be exhausted. And can you imagine a scenario where people die because they're not? Thankfully, we've had huge improvements in terms of government sponsorship for our patients requiring dialysis, because the reality is most of us simply cannot afford it. And without insurance, it's virtually impossible. But insurance does provide a certain degree of cover for patients, especially when you need to start and it's an emergency and we can't get things to government. There's bureaucracy. So even if there's going to be government support, it's not something that happens from today to
Yeah,
tomorrow.
yeah,
So
yeah.
insurance definitely provides
Yeah.
that cover that patients need in the meantime. And we always, therefore, I don't know a single nephrologist, kidney specialist, or cancer specialist who will not tell every patient that they know to get insurance, because
Yeah.
those diseases cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
Cost a lot of money, and the patients tend to be not able to work for extended periods of time.
Yeah. So, Dr. Clark, unfortunately, all good things come to an end. So, we're at the end of our time, but I want to thank you again. If someone in the diaspora has a need, can they contact you at that information below? You could call. I guess you could call or WhatsApp.
Yeah.
Your direct number is 459-2030, or they could WhatsApp or even call. And your email is kidneycareslu@gmail.com.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we could be rich at that information.
So even if someone has a concern regarding a family member, say who lives in the Caribbean or some other part, they can call. They can reach out to you.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I'm a Caribbean girl at heart, and my view is we have to help each other. If there's stuff, I'm a scholarship student. I studied in Cuba. There's a lot happening in Cuba right now. I studied in Cuba. I do think we have an obligation. Those of us who know, we have to share the knowledge, and those who know better, I do believe when people know better, they do better. I mean, I'm always reach out if you need some information, if you need some help. We're here to help. I may not respond immediately, but
Yeah.
eventually I will respond.
Dr. Clark, thank you so very much. Thank you so very much. So the whole summary of this is we need to take care of our health. We really appreciate you coming on. I want to highlight the spiritual aspect. We have to take care of our bodies, as the Lord said. If you need information, we ask you to reach out to myself. The contacts are below regarding the protecting yourself, income protection, protecting yourself in case you get, not in case, anything can happen. You have a debilitating illness like kidney disease, etc., etc. I'm here, and my group is here to help you with the financial literacy. Dr. Clark, thank you again. We may need to bring you back for a second part, but thank you for the information. And again, your information is down in the banner that we could reach out to you. Thank you so very much. May the Lord bless you. And everyone who tuned in, thank you. And those who will be looking at the live after, thank you.
Thank you for having me again. Thank you.
You are welcome. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Great program.